This is Spring Mountain Ranch State Park, and today we're going to visit the ranch house. This ranch house was the house that Chester Locke constructed around 1948 and 1950. And it has now taken on the role of the visitor center. And visitors enter the ranch house from here, where tours of the ranch house are given by the rangers or one of the docents, or they can just look around on their own. So let's take a look here. So the first thing that meets your eye is this bookcase, which gives you a brief history of the ranch as shown by the several ranch owners. First off, the Wilsons, the ones who homesteaded the ranch back in 1876. That's old man James Bernard Wilson Sr., and these are his two adopted Paiute sons, which would be Jim Betts, or the given name Jim Wilson Jr., and Tweed. And of course, the inevitable dog that shows up in pioneer photographs. They owned the ranch from 1876 to 1929. James Wilson Sr. deeded the ranch to his two Paiute sons in 1902, and they ran the ranch until 1929, when they got into trouble with unpaid loans and were facing foreclosure and were bailed out by Willard George. This is a good photograph of the Paiute sons of James B. Wilson Sr. On the left is Jim Wilson Jr., and on the other side is Tweed. Tweed was the only one who married and had children, and they were Buster and Boone. When they got into trouble with the inability to pay some loans, a fellow by the name of Willard George bought the ranch. Now, Willard George had known them when he was a little kid out here at the Kyle Ranch with his mother and father. And he had visited the ranch many times and had an affinity for the ranch and didn't want to see the Wilsons lose it, so he bought it, maintained administrative control, but left the day-to-day activities to the Wilson boys. This is Willard George's house at the ranch that he built for the times that he would come and stay here. He was also known as the Furrier to the Stars because of his very lucrative fur business in Los Angeles, California. This is Chester Locke, who bought the ranch from Willard George. Starting in 1944, lease to purchase, and then to purchase 1948, and it was Chester Locke that built the visitor center, or the ranch house. He was known for movies and Hollywood comedy movies, as well as a comedy radio show which centered on the imaginary town of Pine Ridge, Arkansas, where he and his buddy ran a general store called the Jot 'em Down Store. This is them out of costume, whereas the little picture up here is the way they looked when they played their roles. So they owned the ranch until Chester Locke owned the ranch until 1955, and that's when Vera Krupp, Baroness Vera Krupp, came in, purchased the ranch, and actually lived here. She was, except for the Wilsons, she was the only one that actually called the ranch her home. And she has a long and interesting history that stretched from pre-World War II Germany to the United States. When she became ill and could no longer stay here, the ranch was sold to Howard Hughes, who was the famous aviator, movie producer, airline owner, TWA. And they made a movie about him called The Aviator. His wife of 13 years, Jean Peters. And then when Howard Hughes left Las Vegas for good, the ranch was acquired by Fletcher Jones. When Fletcher Jones could not develop the park into a private equestrian golf residence, it was sold to the Division of State Parks, 1974. So after leaving the bookcase area, you can get a look at other parts of the house. This was the area used as the guest bathroom and a place to change into a bathing suit to enjoy the big swimming pool that used to be out on the patio. And you have a lot of the things that Vera bought from Germany after the war. She was a movie star in Germany, as you can see in this file photo, for PR purposes. She got the Krupp name by marrying Alfred Krupp in 1952, as you can see here. And the one thing about Vera that kept her going all these years was she had a very faithful secretary, Peg Westberg, who was dedicated to Vera and protected her name and her reputation. And these are some of the things you'll see in the display case. She was an honorary deputy sheriff and was authorized to carry her .38 with her. These are some of her clothing items. Picture of her with Alfred Krupp. Belt buckle with the Diamond V logo. And on this wall, the famous Krupp diamond theft and the history of the ring. And as you can see down here, she acquired the ring. It was stolen from her from this very ranch house and recovered 6 weeks later. She wore it all the time. That's why people found out that she had it. And the problem is you couldn't fence the ring because the FBI was hot on the trail from the time the ring was stolen. So you can see here that this was a restroom. There was a shower over here and a toilet behind that door, and a representation of the logo towels that she had here. Fireplace. Gift shop, aptly named the Jot 'em Down gift shop after the fictional general store of Lum and Abner. And our newest acquisition is seen over here in the display case, where Chester Locke's actual parade saddle was donated to the park by one of the relatives who wanted to have it on display. This was really a great addition to the park because it gives a connection between the actual owner and the present day park. This was the kitchen area. Now these aren't the original dishes and pots and pans. These were all donated or purchased to give a feeling of the 1950s, 1960s era. This is the way it looked back when Chester Lock had it. Improvements made by the Howard Hughes Group installed these 1960s era looking ovens, and that's when electricity was here. It was brought in 1964, so they no longer used the butane, and this was the kitchen area. This was the side where the sleeping quarters were. There are 2 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom, and 2 bedrooms here. The upstairs is off limits because it belongs to the ranger's office. We call this the Howard Hughes room to represent the fact that he was an owner, even though there's no evidence that he ever visited the ranch itself. However, this is actually Vera's bedroom, and you can see why. It's well lit, and it has a wonderful view of the ranch. This bar here was actually gotten from the Desert Inn, probably by the Howard Hughes people when they entertained here. This wicker furniture came from the Desert Inn when the furniture was put up for auction because they were going to implode the Desert Inn. This is a map of what Fletcher Jones wanted to do with the ranch in terms of creating a private equestrian golf community, which means no entrance for the public. Luckily, he was outvoted on the county commission, thanks to them and the good work of the people of Las Vegas who did not want another commercial property in the canyon so that it could stay as pristine as possible. This is the master bedroom area. Now, Vera didn't sleep in here. I believe Chester Lock and his wife used it as a master bedroom. She used this more as a place to relax and to display the antique items that she brought over from Germany after World War II. I don't know why Vera didn't want to use this as her bedroom, because you get a fantastic view of the ranch. Now, this field out here originally was an orchard, because that was the main purpose of the ranch, was to supply food for the miners that were in the mining camps throughout this valley and even as far down as California in the Ivanpah district. Now all but a few fruit trees are growing there. And then this cat represents maybe a cat that would have been here when Vera was here. And there is an artistic painting of her favorite horse. This was a dressing area and a sample of some of the clothing that Vera had. These were donated by her secretary, Peg Westberg, when she was managing the estate of Vera after Vera passed away. And you can see these luxurious robes and saris that Vera used to wear. And you can see that in a picture down below here. There's not much on this side, just a chest of drawers and a picture of Vera in one of her saris. Now, we're not too sure about this bidet being here and why it's the bidet only and not a toilet adjacent to it. But her secretary, when she came to give us a talk on the ranch when Vera was here, said the bidet was there. And remember, Vera was from Germany, where bidets were common. This might have been the first bidet in the state of Nevada. This is one of the pieces of furniture that was actually here and used by Vera. And what happened was this was auctioned off from her estate, kept for several years, and the people knew where this furniture came from and donated it to the ranch when they were done with it. And there's a shower here, huge shower. This was probably put in by Chet Locke, because Vera did not need a shower that was 6 feet plus tall, because she was only 5 feet 4.5 inches tall. And again, some of her expensive clothing. And then there's one door that we haven't really opened yet. And it's this one. And you'll have to come to the ranch in order to find out what is behind this door.
Just a short drive from the Las Vegas Strip, beneath the colorful cliffs of the Wilson Mountain Range, there is an historic oasis retreat with a variety of activities for you to enjoy. Welcome to Spring Mountain Ranch State Park.
The endangered Pahrump poolfish that you can see here. The ranch has these poolfish for preservation up in the lake called Lake Harriet. You can walk up to the lake, but you can't actually get near enough to see the poolfish. But if it were not for this park and a couple of other places in the state, this particular fish would become extinct. And you can see some flowing around here now. Now this is a real sign, because Chester Locke had a terrible time with cattle thieves. So much so that he eventually stopped running cattle on the ranch because he was losing money. And these are just some representative creatures, and a fox, and a coyote, and a desert tortoise, and the horns of a bighorn sheep, all of which animals can be found here now except for the bighorn sheep. And these are just some pictures of the old ranch life. Okay, so let's go outside and look around the house. So coming out the door, this is the site that you see. I could stand here forever and just look over those sandstone cliffs. Over there is the picnic area. So this is the Howard Hughes room here. We were in there earlier looking out. Now we're outside looking in. In order to represent the fruit orchard that used to cover all of this pasture, the rangers have planted some new fruit trees which are in the growing stage. Now you might wonder, all of this green pasture is here and we're having a water shortage in Las Vegas. However, all of this water is natural water that comes from the hills there. There's 6 springs associated with the ranch, so there's plenty of natural water which would otherwise just go to waste. So all of this water comes from the springs, not from city water. And moving on around, we see the 2 pasture residents, Gene Peters and Tweed. I used to be able to tell which was which, but they're both so big now, I can't tell the difference. But they are the livestock residents of Spring Mountain Ranch. There used to be a black and white cow called Penelope who was here for years and was everybody's favorite because she would come to the fence and allow you to pet her. But after many years she passed away, and these are the 2 remaining ones. We're on the back side of the ranch. This door here is the door we looked out of when we were in the master bedroom. And again, I mentioned this view of the ranch that anyone could wake up to and see this every morning. Just fantastic. And continuing on down the stone walk here, the door coming up is the door we looked out of when we were in the secret room, or Vera's room. And just outside of her door in the flagstone is the Diamond V logo. Here's the V and then the diamond. So visitors to the ranch would come out on the patio and go to the pool. Now that concrete bench there is where they had the pool equipment, the filter and the pumps, but that's all been removed because the pool has been filled in to represent a desert garden. The reason for that is liability. If you had a pool empty or full of water and somebody comes out here and falls in and gets injured, then the park would be liable. So they decided to fill it in. And since you see trees here, obviously it's been filled in for quite some time. So all of this was pooled, you can see from the coping. And we're looking ahead at those windows, that's the gift shop. So it's interesting, they have a fruit tree here, a mesquite tree here, and a palo verde here. This is the door, the entranceway that was here that led to the kitchen. And that's the back door of the gift shop. That bell has an interesting history. It was acquired by Chester Locke. It was an old ship's bell that somebody donated. So when he designed the house, he had that bell tower put in. So that's it for the tour of the ranch house. If you have a chance, come visit Spring Mountain Ranch. Take the tour of the ranch house or just sit out in the picnic area and take in that magnificent sandstone escarpment. There, this is the perfect picture right there.